Have you ever noticed how easily people can disturb your peace? One comment, one insult, or one negative opinion can stay in your mind for hours. Many people spend their lives reacting to everything around them without realizing that every reaction gives others control over their emotions. The truth is simple but powerful. When someone can control your reaction, they can control your state of mind. Strong people understand something that most people never learn. Not every situation deserves a reaction, not every opinion deserves an explanation, and not every person deserves your attention. When you learn the power of ignoring, you begin to protect your energy, your peace, and your focus. In this video, you will discover 7 powerful lessons about the power of ignoring and why sometimes the strongest response you can give is silence. Chapter 1. Reaction gives power to the wrong people. Many conflicts in life begin with a simple reaction. Someone says something negative, and the moment you respond emotionally, the situation begins to grow into something bigger. Words turn into arguments, arguments turn into stress, and stress begins to disturb your peace. The truth is that many people who criticize or provoke you are not looking for understanding. They are looking for a reaction. When you react emotionally, you give those people exactly what they wanted. Your attention becomes their reward, and your frustration becomes their satisfaction. But when you choose not to react, the situation changes completely. The person who expected a reaction suddenly loses their influence over you. Their words stop having the power they hoped for. Ignoring unnecessary negativity is not weakness, it is control. It shows that you understand that your emotions are valuable and not everyone deserves access to them. When you stop reacting to every comment and every opinion, you begin to live with greater calm and confidence. Chapter 2. Not every opinion deserves your attention. One of the biggest traps people fall into is believing that they must respond to every opinion about them. In today's world, where social media gives everyone a voice and criticism can appear instantly, it often feels as if you must constantly defend yourself. When someone questions your decisions, judges your choices, or spreads an opinion about you, the natural reaction is to explain yourself and prove that they are wrong. But the reality is that the world will always have opinions about you, no matter what you do. Even if you try your best to please everyone, there will still be people who disagree with you. Some people will misunderstand you because they do not know your full story. Others may judge you based on their own assumptions, experiences, or insecurities. There will even be people who dislike you without any real reason at all. This is simply part of human nature. The mistake many people make is believing that every opinion must be corrected. They spend their time explaining themselves, defending their actions, and trying to convince others to see things their way. Over time, this becomes exhausting, because no matter how clearly you explain yourself, some people will still refuse to understand. Wise individuals eventually realize that attention is one of the most valuable resources they possess. Just like time and energy, it should not be wasted on things that do not truly matter. Instead of reacting to every negative voice or criticism, they focus their attention on what actually improves their lives. They work on their goals, strengthen their mindset, and invest their energy into things that create growth and progress. When you stop chasing approval from everyone around you, something powerful begins to happen. Your mind becomes calmer because you are no longer trying to satisfy every opinion. Your focus becomes clearer because your attention is directed toward your own path rather than other people's judgments. The moment you understand that not every opinion deserves your attention is the moment you begin to experience a deeper sense of freedom and control over your life. Chapter 3. Silence is a form of emotional mastery. Most people believe that staying silent during a disagreement means losing the argument, but in reality, silence often requires more strength than speaking. When someone criticizes you, insults you, or tries to provoke you, your natural instinct is to respond immediately. Emotions rise quickly, and the mind begins searching for the perfect words to defend yourself. In that moment, reacting feels natural, almost automatic. However, reacting without control often leads to bigger problems. What begins as a small disagreement can quickly turn into a long argument that drains your energy and disturbs your peace. Silence is powerful because it shows emotional control. When you choose not to respond immediately, you demonstrate that you are not controlled by impulse. Instead of letting anger or frustration guide your actions, you allow your mind to remain calm and steady. This ability to pause before reacting is one of the strongest forms of emotional discipline a person can develop. It allows you to observe the situation clearly rather than becoming trapped inside the emotional storm of the moment. Emotionally mature individuals understand that not every situation deserves their reaction. Some arguments exist only to create tension and distraction. When you recognize this, silence becomes a wise decision rather than a weakness. By refusing to engage in unnecessary conflict, you protect your peace and avoid giving others the satisfaction of seeing you lose control. Over time, practicing silence in difficult moments strengthens your emotional stability. People begin to notice that you are not easily provoked and that your calmness remains steady even when others try to disturb it. This quiet confidence sends a powerful message. It shows that your emotions belong to you, and no one else has the power to control them. Chapter 4. Ignoring protects your mental energy. Your mind has a limited amount of energy every single day. Just like your body can become tired after physical effort, your mind can also become exhausted when it is constantly dealing with stress, arguments, and negativity. Many people do not realize how much mental energy they waste reacting to things that do not truly matter. A negative comment, a rude message, or a small disagreement can stay in the mind for hours. People replay the conversation again and again, thinking about what they should have said or how they could have responded differently. This constant mental replay slowly drains their focus and peace. The problem is not only the argument itself. The real problem is how long it continues to live inside your mind. When you give attention to negativity, your mind keeps returning to it. Instead of focusing on your work, your goals, or the things that improve your life, your thoughts become trapped in a cycle of frustration. One small moment of negativity can turn into an entire day of distraction. Over time, this habit quietly steals your productivity, your clarity, and your emotional stability. Ignoring unnecessary negativity protects your mental energy because it breaks this cycle before it even begins. When someone tries to provoke you and you simply choose not to engage, the situation ends immediately. There is no argument to replay in your mind later. There are no emotional wounds to carry throughout the day. By refusing to give attention to negativity, you prevent it from growing into something larger. Think about how often people allow other people's behavior to control their thoughts. A stranger's comment online can ruin their mood. A co-worker's criticism can stay in their mind all evening. A single disagreement can follow them into the next day. When you react to everything, your mind becomes crowded with unnecessary noise. But when you begin ignoring what does not truly matter, your mind slowly becomes quieter and more focused. Successful and emotionally balanced individuals often appear calm because they carefully protect their attention. They understand that attention is one of the most valuable resources they possess. Instead of giving it to arguments, drama, and pointless conflicts, they invest it into learning, building, improving, and moving forward in life. Their focus remains on what they can control rather than on what others say or do. Ignoring negativity does not mean pretending that problems do not exist. It means recognizing which situations are worth your energy and which ones are simply distractions. When something truly matters, you address it with clarity and intention. But when something is only meant to provoke or disturb your peace, you allow it to pass without engagement. This simple habit can transform the way your mind experiences daily life. The more you practice ignoring unnecessary negativity, the more mental space you create for things that actually improve your life. Your thoughts become clearer, your focus becomes stronger, and your emotional state becomes more stable. Over time, you begin to notice something powerful. Many conflicts that once seemed important simply disappear when you stop feeding them with attention. The drama fades because it no longer receives the reaction it needs to survive. What remains is a calmer mind and a stronger sense of control over your own thoughts. Protecting your mental energy is not about avoiding the world. It is about choosing where your attention belongs. When you learn to ignore what does not deserve your energy, you create space for the things that truly deserve your focus, your effort, and your growth. Chapter 5. Some people only want your reaction. One of the most important things you will learn in life is that not everyone who speaks to you is looking for understanding. Some people are not interested in honest conversation, truth, or meaningful connection. Instead, they are simply looking for a reaction. They want to see how easily they can disturb your emotions, control your attention, or pull you into unnecessary conflict. The moment you begin to recognize this pattern, you start to see human behavior in a completely different way. Many people enjoy provoking others because it gives them a sense of power. When they say something negative and you react emotionally, they feel successful. Your anger becomes their reward. Your frustration becomes proof that they managed to affect you. In many situations, the actual topic of the argument is not even important to them. What they truly want is the emotional response they can create. You can see this behavior everywhere. On social media, people often leave rude or insulting comments, not because they care about the discussion, but because they want attention. In everyday life, some individuals make sarcastic remarks or criticisms simply to trigger a reaction. They enjoy watching others become upset because it makes them feel important or in control of the situation. The mistake many people make is believing they must respond to these provocations. They feel the need to defend themselves, correct the person, or prove that the other person is wrong. But when you respond emotionally, you step directly into the game that the other person started. The more you argue, the more attention you give them, and the more satisfied they become. Strong individuals understand something very simple but extremely powerful. The best way to end this game is to refuse to play it. When you do not react, the person trying to provoke you loses their reward. The reaction they expected never arrives, and the situation quickly loses its energy. Ignoring someone who is trying to provoke you does not mean that you are weak or that you agree with what they said. It simply means you are wise enough to recognize that engaging with them will only create more negativity. Instead of wasting your time and emotions, you choose to protect your peace. Over time, this approach changes the way people interact with you. When others realize that they cannot easily provoke you, they stop trying. People who thrive on conflict usually move on quickly when they see that their efforts are not producing the reaction they expected. Your calmness removes the fuel that keeps their behavior alive. There is also another important benefit to ignoring those who seek reactions. It protects your emotional balance. When you constantly argue or defend yourself, your mind remains trapped in cycles of anger, frustration, and stress. These emotions do not disappear immediately after the argument ends. They often stay with you, affecting your mood and your focus long after the situation is over. By refusing to react, you break that cycle. Your mind remains calm because you did not allow the situation to grow into something bigger. Instead of carrying negativity with you throughout the day, you continue moving forward with clarity and control. Another powerful realization is that people who constantly seek reactions often struggle with their own insecurities. Provoking others may be their way of seeking attention or dealing with their own frustrations. When you recognize this, it becomes easier to step away from their behavior instead of becoming emotionally involved in it. Choosing not to react also strengthens your personal discipline. It teaches you that your emotions do not have to be controlled by every word someone says. You begin to understand that your peace is more valuable than winning an argument or proving someone wrong. This mindset creates a powerful sense of independence because your emotional state is no longer determined by the behavior of others. As you continue practicing this habit, you will start noticing something surprising. Many situations that once caused conflict simply disappear when you stop reacting. The drama fades because it no longer receives the attention it needs to survive. What once seemed like a serious problem turns out to be nothing more than a temporary attempt to provoke you. The power of ignoring lies in this quiet form of control. It allows you to remain calm while others lose their composure. It allows you to continue moving forward while others remain trapped in cycles of negativity. Most importantly, it reminds you that not every voice deserves your attention, and not every challenge deserves your reaction. When you truly understand this lesson, you gain something incredibly valuable. You gain the ability to choose peace over conflict, clarity over chaos, and self-control over emotional reaction. And that choice has the power to change the way you experience almost every interaction in your life. Chapter 6. You do not need to explain yourself to everyone. One of the quiet burdens many people carry throughout their lives is the constant need to explain themselves. They feel as if every decision they make must be justified to others. When they change direction in life, someone asks why. When they stop talking to certain people, someone demands an explanation. When they choose a different path, a different lifestyle, or a different mindset, people around them begin questioning their choices. Over time, this creates a hidden pressure that slowly drains confidence and peace of mind. From a young age, many people are taught to seek approval. They learn to behave in ways that make others comfortable, and they begin to believe that their choices must always make sense to everyone around them. At first, this may seem harmless because it feels like being polite, responsible, and considerate. But when this habit grows stronger, it can quietly turn into something exhausting. Instead of living according to their own values, people begin living according to the expectations of others. When someone questions your choices, the instinct is to explain everything in detail. You begin describing your reasons, your thoughts, and your intentions in the hope that the other person will understand. Sometimes they do, but many times they do not. The truth is that understanding does not always depend on how clearly you explain yourself. It depends on whether the other person is willing to understand you in the first place. Some people listen with an open mind, but others listen only to argue or judge. No matter how clearly you explain your choices, they will still view them through their own opinions and experiences. When you try to convince everyone to understand your path, you slowly become trapped in endless conversations that lead nowhere. Instead of focusing on your own progress, your energy becomes tied to proving yourself again and again. This is where the power of ignoring unnecessary explanations begins to appear. Mature and confident individuals understand that their life is not a debate that requires constant justification. They make decisions based on their values, their goals, and their personal growth, rather than on the approval of every person around them. Imagine how much mental energy people spend explaining their lives. They explain why they changed careers, why they stopped certain friendships, why they started new habits, and why they no longer tolerate certain behaviors. While communication can be important in meaningful relationships, explaining every step of your journey to everyone you meet can slowly drain your focus. Not everyone deserves access to your personal reasoning. Some people are simply curious, some are judgmental, and some are only looking for something to criticize. When you constantly explain yourself to these individuals, you give them unnecessary influence over your decisions. Strong individuals eventually realize that clarity in their own mind is more important than approval from others. When you are confident about your direction, you no longer feel the need to defend it in every conversation. Instead of explaining your choices repeatedly, you allow your actions and your results to speak for themselves. There is also another important truth that many people overlook. The more you explain yourself, the more opportunities you give others to question you. Each explanation invites another opinion, another judgment, and another discussion that may not be necessary. What started as a simple decision can suddenly turn into a long conversation filled with doubt and criticism. By choosing not to explain every decision, you protect your confidence and independence. You give yourself the freedom to grow without constantly seeking validation from others. Your life becomes guided by purpose rather than by public approval. This does not mean that you should never communicate or share your thoughts. In close relationships built on trust and respect, open communication is valuable and healthy. But there is a difference between meaningful conversation and constant justification. The first builds understanding, while the second often creates unnecessary pressure. When someone truly respects you, they will not demand endless explanations for every choice you make. They may ask questions with genuine curiosity, but they will also accept that your life belongs to you. Healthy relationships allow space for individuality, growth, and personal decisions without constant judgment. Another powerful benefit of letting go of unnecessary explanations is the confidence it builds within you. Each time you make a decision and move forward without seeking approval, you strengthen your trust in yourself. You begin to realize that you do not need everyone to agree with your path for it to be valid. Confidence grows when your actions are guided by your values rather than by the opinions of others. Over time, you develop a quiet sense of independence that makes you less affected by criticism or misunderstanding. Instead of worrying about how your decisions appear to others, you focus on whether they align with the life you want to build. It is also important to remember that people often judge based on what they see from the outside. They do not know your full story, your struggles, your goals, or the lessons you have learned along the way. Because of this, their opinions may not reflect the reality of your situation. Trying to convince them to fully understand every detail of your journey can become an impossible task. When you accept that not everyone will understand your path, you release yourself from a heavy burden. You stop chasing approval and start embracing authenticity. Your choices become clearer because they are no longer filtered through the expectations of others. Many successful and fulfilled individuals live with this quiet principle. They respect others, they communicate when necessary, but they do not spend their lives explaining themselves to everyone around them. Their energy is directed toward building, improving, and moving forward, rather than toward defending every step they take. Over time, this mindset creates a powerful form of peace. You wake up each day focused on your purpose rather than on how your decisions will be judged. Conversations become simpler because you no longer feel the need to justify every detail of your life. Your mind becomes calmer because you are not constantly carrying the pressure of approval. When you truly understand this lesson, you begin to see that your life belongs to you alone. Your journey will not look the same as anyone else's, and that is perfectly normal. Each person walks a different path shaped by different experiences, values, and goals. You do not need everyone to agree with your choices in order for them to be right for you. The only approval that truly matters is the one that comes from living in alignment with your own values and purpose. Learning when to speak and when to remain silent is one of the most powerful forms of wisdom. By letting go of the need to explain yourself to everyone, you protect your independence, strengthen your confidence, and preserve your mental energy for the things that truly matter. And in that quiet confidence, something remarkable begins to grow. You stop living for approval and start living with intention. Chapter 7. Peace begins when you stop responding to everything. Many people spend their lives believing that they must respond to everything that happens around them. Every comment deserves a reply. Every criticism requires a defense. Every disagreement demands an argument. And every misunderstanding must be corrected immediately. Because of this habit, the mind becomes constantly busy. Thoughts keep moving from one situation to another, reacting, analyzing, and replaying conversations again and again. Over time, this constant reaction slowly steals the calm and clarity that every person needs in order to live peacefully. The truth is that much of the stress people experience in daily life does not come from the situations themselves. It comes from the endless reactions that follow those situations. A small comment from someone can stay in the mind for hours. A disagreement at work can follow a person home and disturb their evening. A negative message online can turn into a long chain of thoughts that repeat again and again. The problem is not only what happened, but the mental attention that continues to feed it. When you begin responding to everything, your mind never gets a chance to rest. Each reaction creates another thought, another emotion, and another internal conversation. The mind becomes crowded with noise that slowly drains your focus and emotional stability. You may notice that even when the situation has already passed, your thoughts continue returning to it. You imagine what you should have said, how you should have responded, and how the other person might react next time. This cycle keeps the conflict alive long after the actual moment has ended. Peace begins the moment you understand that not every situation deserves your response. When you stop reacting to everything around you, many problems lose their power immediately. Arguments often continue only because two people keep responding to each other. When one person decides to stop engaging, the conflict often disappears on its own. What once seemed like a serious issue suddenly fades because the attention that kept it alive is no longer present. Choosing not to respond does not mean ignoring important responsibilities or avoiding meaningful communication. It simply means recognizing the difference between situations that truly matter and those that only create unnecessary noise in your life. When something is meaningful, helpful, or constructive, responding with clarity and calmness can be valuable. But when something is driven by negativity, ego, or provocation, responding often adds more fuel to the situation. Many people believe they must defend themselves in every moment because silence might appear as weakness. However, true strength often appears in the ability to remain calm and composed, while others expect a reaction. When you do not immediately respond to every comment or criticism, you show that your peace is more valuable than temporary arguments. Another important realization is that many conflicts grow because people continue feeding them with attention. Imagine a small spark that falls onto dry leaves. If no one touches it, the spark may fade away quickly. But if someone keeps blowing air on it, the spark can turn into a large fire. The same principle often applies to human conflict. Attention acts like air that keeps the fire alive. When you choose not to respond to certain situations, you remove the attention that fuels them. The negativity slowly loses energy and disappears. What once seemed like a problem becomes something that passes quietly without disturbing your peace. This habit also changes the way your mind experiences daily life. When you stop responding to everything, your thoughts become calmer. Instead of constantly analyzing every interaction, you allow many things to simply pass through your awareness without holding on to them. This creates mental space that allows you to focus on what truly matters. Your energy begins to move toward growth instead of reaction. Instead of replaying arguments in your mind, you think about your goals and plans. Instead of worrying about how others perceive you, you focus on building the life you want. Instead of reacting emotionally to every disturbance, you develop a steady inner calm that remains stable regardless of what happens around you. Over time, this calmness becomes noticeable to others. People realize that you are not easily pulled into drama or unnecessary conflict. They see that your emotional state remains steady even when situations become tense. This quiet stability often commands more respect than any argument ever could. There is also another powerful benefit to this mindset. When you stop responding to everything, you begin to understand how many situations never truly deserved your attention in the first place. Many arguments that once felt important now appear small and temporary. Many opinions that once seemed powerful now appear insignificant. This realization brings a deep sense of freedom. You no longer feel responsible for correcting every misunderstanding or answering every criticism. Instead of feeling trapped by the expectations of others, you move forward with clarity and independence. Another important part of peace is learning to release control over things that cannot be controlled. People will always have opinions. Some will misunderstand you, some will criticize you, and some will behave in ways that do not make sense to you. Trying to control all of these things can create endless frustration, but when you stop responding to every situation, you accept that not everything requires your involvement. This acceptance does not weaken you. In fact, it strengthens your sense of control because your peace no longer depends on changing the behavior of others. Instead, it depends on how you choose to respond internally. Your calmness becomes something that comes from within rather than something that depends on external circumstances. The more you practice this habit, the easier it becomes. Situations that once triggered immediate reactions begin to feel less important. Your mind learns to pause instead of reacting automatically. You become more aware of which situations deserve your energy and which ones are simply distractions. This awareness creates a powerful shift in the way you live. Your days become quieter because your thoughts are not constantly chasing every small disturbance. Your focus becomes stronger because your attention is not scattered across countless unnecessary interactions. Your emotions become more balanced because you are no longer allowing every external event to control your inner state. Eventually, you realize something that many people never fully understand. Peace is not created by controlling everything around you. It is created by controlling how much of the world you allow into your mind. When you stop responding to everything, you reclaim control over your attention, your emotions, and your energy. You begin living with a calm strength that is not easily disturbed by the noise of the outside world. And in that calm strength, a new kind of freedom appears. A freedom that comes from knowing that your peace is not something others can take away, because it is something you have learned to protect. Chapter 8. The quiet strength of walking away. One of the most powerful skills a person can develop in life is the ability to walk away. Not every situation deserves your presence, your energy, or your emotional investment. Yet many people spend years of their lives trapped in arguments, conflicts, and relationships that continuously drain them. They stay in these situations because they believe leaving means losing, surrendering, or appearing weak. In reality, walking away often requires far more strength than staying. Most people are taught to fight for everything. If someone criticizes them, they feel they must defend themselves. If someone disrespects them, they feel they must prove their worth. If someone challenges them, they believe they must win the argument. This mindset can turn life into a constant battlefield where every disagreement feels like a challenge that must be answered. However, wisdom begins when you realize that not every battle deserves to be fought. Many arguments exist only to pull you into unnecessary drama. Some people are not searching for truth or understanding. They are simply looking for conflict, attention, or emotional reactions. When you engage with them, you become part of a cycle that rarely leads to anything meaningful. Walking away breaks that cycle completely. Instead of continuing the conflict, you remove yourself from it. Instead of feeding the argument with more words and emotions, you allow it to end. This decision does not mean that you agree with the other person or that you accept their behavior. It simply means that you value your peace more than the temporary satisfaction of proving someone wrong. One of the reasons people struggle with walking away is their ego. The ego wants recognition, validation, and the feeling of victory. When someone challenges you, the ego immediately pushes you to respond. It whispers that if you do not reply, people will think you are weak or incapable. But true confidence does not depend on the approval of others. A confident person understands that their worth does not need to be defended in every conversation. When you walk away from unnecessary conflict, you demonstrate a powerful form of self-control. You show that your emotions are not easily manipulated by the behavior of others. Instead of allowing anger or frustration to guide your actions, you choose calmness and clarity. This quiet discipline creates a sense of inner strength that becomes stronger over time. Another important reason to walk away from certain situations is the protection of your energy. Every argument consumes mental and emotional resources. Even after the conversation ends, your mind may continue replaying the event. You may think about what you said, what the other person said, and what you wish you had said differently. These thoughts can stay with you for hours or even days. By walking away early, you prevent this cycle from beginning. The situation ends before it grows into something larger. Your mind remains clear because you did not allow the conflict to take root inside your thoughts. This simple choice can save you an incredible amount of mental energy that can be used for things that truly matter. Walking away also teaches you an important lesson about control. Many people try to control how others behave or what others think about them. They want people to understand them, respect them, and agree with their perspective. But the truth is that you cannot control the thoughts and actions of other people. The only thing you can truly control is how you respond to them. When you walk away, you accept this reality. You stop trying to change every opinion or correct every misunderstanding. Instead, you focus on maintaining your own peace and direction. This shift in mindset creates a sense of freedom because you are no longer responsible for managing the emotions and expectations of everyone around you. Another powerful benefit of walking away is that it protects your dignity. When arguments become heated, people often say things they do not truly mean. Emotions rise, voices become louder, and respect can disappear quickly. In these moments, continuing the conversation often leads to regret later. Words spoken in anger can damage relationships and leave emotional scars that last far longer than the argument itself. Choosing to walk away before reaching that point shows maturity and wisdom. It allows you to leave the situation with your integrity intact. Instead of becoming part of a destructive exchange, you maintain control over your behavior and preserve your self-respect. Over time, people begin to notice this quality in you. They realize that you are not someone who can easily be pulled into drama. They see that you remain calm, even when others try to provoke you. This quiet stability often earns more respect than any argument ever could. People understand that you choose your battles carefully and that your attention is not easily captured by negativity. Walking away also creates space for growth. When you stop spending time on unnecessary conflict, you free yourself to focus on more meaningful things. Your attention can move toward learning, building, creating, and improving your life. Instead of being trapped in cycles of reaction, you begin directing your energy toward progress. There is also a deeper form of peace that emerges from this habit. As you practice walking away from unnecessary situations, you begin to feel less affected by the behavior of others. Negative comments lose their impact. Arguments no longer disturb your thoughts. Situations that once triggered strong emotional reactions now appear small and temporary. This change does not happen instantly. It develops gradually as you continue choosing calmness over conflict. Each time you walk away from something that does not deserve your attention, you strengthen your ability to remain centered and balanced. Eventually, you begin to understand something that many people never fully realize. True power is not found in controlling others or winning arguments. True power is found in controlling yourself. It is found in the ability to remain peaceful while the world around you becomes noisy and chaotic. Walking away is not an act of defeat. It is an act of wisdom. It is the moment when you decide that your peace is too valuable to be sacrificed for unnecessary conflict. It is the moment when you recognize that some battles are simply distractions from the life you are trying to build. And when you truly understand this lesson, something remarkable happens. Life becomes quieter, your mind becomes clearer, and your energy begins moving toward the things that truly matter. In that quiet clarity, you discover a powerful truth. Sometimes the strongest move you can make is simply to walk away. Chapter 9. Your attention is your most valuable currency. One of the most powerful truths a person can learn is that attention is one of the most valuable resources they possess. Every single day your mind decides where your attention will go. It can move toward your goals, your growth, and the things that improve your life, or it can become trapped in negativity, arguments, and unnecessary distractions. Many people do not realize that the quality of their life is deeply connected to where their attention is directed. In modern life, attention has become one of the most competed for resources in the world. Social media platforms, advertisements, news, and endless online conversations constantly try to capture your focus. Every notification, comment, and message pulls your mind in a different direction. Because of this constant noise, it has become very easy for people to give their attention away without thinking about it. But attention works like currency. Just as money can be invested wisely or wasted carelessly, your attention can either build your life or slowly drain your energy. When you give your attention to arguments, criticism, and negativity, you are essentially investing your mental energy into things that produce no positive return. Think about how often people allow small situations to dominate their thoughts. A stranger's comment online can stay in their mind for hours. A disagreement with a coworker can follow them throughout the entire day. A criticism from someone who barely knows them can cause them to question themselves again and again. These moments may seem small, but when they are repeated day after day, they quietly consume a large amount of mental space. The power of ignoring begins when you recognize that not everything deserves your attention. Just because something appears in front of you does not mean it deserves your focus. Some comments are simply distractions. Some criticisms come from people who do not truly understand your life. Some conflicts exist only to pull you away from what truly matters. When you understand the value of attention, you begin guarding it more carefully. Instead of reacting automatically to every situation, you pause and ask yourself whether it deserves your energy. This simple awareness can completely change the way you experience daily life. Many successful individuals have mastered this skill. They understand that their attention must be directed toward meaningful goals rather than toward endless noise. While others spend their time arguing online or responding to every criticism, they remain focused on building something valuable. Their progress often appears calm and steady because they are not constantly distracted by unnecessary reactions. Ignoring negativity is one of the most effective ways to protect your attention. When someone tries to provoke you and you refuse to respond, you prevent the situation from capturing your focus. Instead of allowing the negativity to grow inside your thoughts, you simply move forward with your day. This does not mean that you ignore important responsibilities or meaningful conversations. There are moments in life that deserve your full attention and thoughtful response. However, wisdom lies in recognizing the difference between situations that contribute to your growth and those that only create noise. Another important aspect of attention is that whatever you focus on tends to grow in your mind. When you repeatedly think about negative experiences, your mind becomes filled with frustration and stress. But when you focus on learning, improving, and moving forward, your mindset gradually becomes stronger and more positive. This is why protecting your attention is so powerful. When you remove unnecessary distractions, your mind becomes clearer and more focused. You begin to notice opportunities that once passed unnoticed. Your creativity improves because your thoughts are not crowded with constant reactions. Over time, this shift creates a completely different experience of life. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by everything happening around you, you become more selective about what deserves your focus. Negative comments lose their power because they no longer receive your attention. Arguments fade quickly because you refuse to participate in them. This mindset also strengthens your emotional stability. When your attention is constantly pulled in different directions, your emotions often follow that same chaos. But when you learn to guide your attention intentionally, your emotional state becomes more balanced. You are no longer reacting impulsively to every disturbance. There is also a deeper level of independence that comes from protecting your attention. Many people unknowingly allow others to control their thoughts simply by reacting to everything they say or do. When you give someone your attention, you give them a certain level of influence over your mental state. By choosing carefully where your attention goes, you reclaim that influence. Your mood, your focus, and your direction become guided by your own decisions rather than by external distractions. Over time, this discipline creates a powerful sense of control. You begin to notice that your days feel calmer because fewer things disturb your mind. Situations that once caused frustration now appear small and temporary. Your attention remains directed toward building your life rather than reacting to every passing disturbance. Another powerful effect of this habit is that it helps you maintain momentum. When your attention stays focused on your goals, progress becomes easier. You spend less time recovering from emotional distractions and more time moving forward. Small, consistent efforts begin to accumulate, gradually creating meaningful change in your life. The ability to control your attention is closely connected to the ability to ignore what does not matter. Ignoring negativity is not about pretending that problems do not exist. It is about refusing to allow unnecessary problems to dominate your thoughts. When you truly understand this principle, your relationship with the world begins to change. Instead of feeling pulled in countless directions by every comment or opinion, you develop a calm and steady focus. You begin to see that many things competing for your attention are simply temporary distractions. This realization brings a deep sense of clarity. You no longer feel the need to react to every situation. Instead, you choose carefully where your attention belongs. Your energy flows toward growth, learning, creativity, and meaningful relationships rather than toward endless conflict. In this way, attention becomes one of the most powerful tools you possess. It shapes your experiences, influences your emotions, and determines the direction of your life. By protecting your attention and refusing to give it away carelessly, you create a stronger and more peaceful mindset. And once you learn this lesson, the power of ignoring becomes clear. It is not about avoiding the world. It is about choosing where your mind belongs. When your attention is invested wisely, your life begins to move forward with clarity, purpose, and strength. Chapter 10. Mastering the Art of Ignoring. By the time a person truly understands the power of ignoring, they begin to see the world very differently. What once seemed urgent and emotionally overwhelming now appears much smaller and easier to manage. Situations that once triggered immediate reactions slowly lose their influence. This transformation does not happen overnight, but it grows through a simple realization: not everything deserves your energy. Many people live in a constant state of reaction. Every comment, every criticism, every disagreement immediately pulls them into emotional responses. Their thoughts become tied to what others say or think about them. When someone praises them, they feel uplifted. When someone criticizes them, they feel discouraged or angry. Their emotional state becomes dependent on the behavior and opinions of other people. Mastering the art of ignoring breaks this pattern. It teaches you that your emotional balance does not have to be controlled by every voice around you. Instead of reacting automatically, you begin choosing your responses consciously. This shift may seem small at first, but it creates a powerful change in the way you experience life. One of the most important steps in mastering this skill is learning to pause. When someone says something negative or tries to provoke you, the immediate instinct is often to respond quickly. The mind wants to defend itself, explain the situation, or correct the other person. But when you pause, even for a moment, you give yourself the opportunity to decide whether the situation truly deserves your response. This pause becomes the space where wisdom begins to grow. Instead of reacting automatically, you ask yourself a simple question: does this situation deserve my attention? If the answer is no, you allow it to pass without giving it energy. The situation loses its power because you refuse to feed it with your reaction. Another key part of mastering the art of ignoring is understanding human behavior. Not every comment people make is based on truth or understanding. Many reactions from others are influenced by their own emotions, frustrations, or insecurities. When someone criticizes you harshly, it may reflect their own struggles more than it reflects anything about you. Once you begin recognizing this, it becomes easier to ignore unnecessary negativity. You realize that responding to every opinion is not required, because many opinions are shaped by personal perspectives that have little to do with your actual path in life. This understanding creates emotional distance from situations that once felt personal. Instead of taking every comment as an attack, you observe it with calm awareness. Some words lose their impact the moment you stop treating them as important. Mastering the art of ignoring also means learning to protect your mental environment. Just as a garden grows best when weeds are removed, the mind grows stronger when unnecessary negativity is kept out. When you constantly allow arguments, criticism, and drama into your thoughts, they begin to crowd the space where clarity and creativity should exist. By ignoring what does not serve you, you create space for more meaningful thoughts. Your attention shifts toward ideas, goals, and actions that improve your life. Instead of spending hours replaying conflicts in your mind, you begin focusing on building something valuable. This habit has a powerful effect on productivity as well. Many people lose significant time and energy reacting to small disturbances throughout the day. A single negative interaction can disrupt their focus for hours. But when you learn to ignore such disturbances quickly, your concentration remains steady. Your mind stays aligned with your priorities rather than being pulled away by temporary distractions. Over time, this creates consistent progress in whatever direction you choose to pursue. Another important aspect of this skill is emotional discipline. Ignoring something does not mean pretending that you do not feel emotions. Everyone experiences anger, frustration, or disappointment at times. The difference lies in whether those emotions control your actions. Mastering the art of ignoring means recognizing the emotion, but choosing not to let it guide your response. You acknowledge the feeling, allow it to pass, and continue focusing on what truly matters. This level of emotional discipline strengthens your confidence because you know that your reactions are guided by intention rather than impulse. There is also a deep sense of freedom that comes with this practice. Many people spend years trying to control how others perceive them. They worry about being misunderstood or judged unfairly. They feel responsible for correcting every misunderstanding that appears around them. But when you master the art of ignoring, you release this burden. You accept that not everyone will understand you, and that is perfectly normal. Your life becomes guided by your own values rather than by the need to convince others. This freedom allows you to move forward with greater clarity. Instead of constantly defending your path, you simply continue walking it. Your actions become your explanation, and your results gradually speak louder than any argument. Over time, people begin noticing this quiet strength. They see that you are not easily disturbed by negativity or drawn into unnecessary conflicts. Your calm responses show that your focus lies elsewhere. Instead of reacting emotionally, you remain steady and composed. This stability often commands more respect than loud arguments ever could. People recognize that you are not someone who can easily be manipulated through emotional provocation. Another powerful effect of mastering the art of ignoring is the sense of inner peace it creates. When your mind is no longer constantly reacting to every situation, a quiet calm begins to develop. Thoughts become clearer because they are not crowded with unnecessary noise. Daily life begins to feel less chaotic. Situations that once seemed overwhelming now appear manageable. You notice that many conflicts disappear on their own when they are not fed with attention. This realization helps you choose your battles wisely. When something truly matters, you respond with clarity and purpose. But when something is simply a distraction, you allow it to pass without engagement. In this way, ignoring becomes a tool of wisdom rather than avoidance. It allows you to direct your attention toward the things that truly shape your life. The longer you practice this mindset, the stronger it becomes. Ignoring negativity stops feeling like an effort and begins feeling natural. Your mind automatically recognizes situations that are not worth your attention. What once triggered immediate reactions now passes quietly through your awareness. Your focus remains centered on your goals, your growth, and your personal direction. Eventually, you reach a point where the noise of the outside world loses much of its influence. Criticism becomes less threatening, opinions become less powerful, and unnecessary drama fades into the background. At this stage, the power of ignoring reveals its greatest benefit. You begin living with a calm strength that does not depend on external approval. Your peace becomes something that comes from within rather than something that depends on controlling the world around you. This inner stability is one of the greatest forms of freedom a person can experience. It allows you to move through life with confidence, clarity, and emotional balance. And once you fully understand this skill, you realize that ignoring is not about avoiding life. It is about mastering your attention, protecting your peace, and choosing wisely where your energy belongs. In that quiet mastery, something powerful emerges. You stop being controlled by every situation around you, and instead begin directing your life with calm intention. Chapter 11. The Discipline of Emotional Detachment. One of the deepest forms of strength a person can develop is emotional detachment. This does not mean becoming cold, uncaring, or disconnected from life. Instead, emotional detachment means learning how to protect your inner peace from unnecessary disturbances. It means understanding that not every situation deserves a deep emotional response, and not every event in life should be allowed to control your mental state. Many people move through life reacting emotionally to almost everything that happens around them. If someone criticizes them, they immediately feel hurt or angry. If someone disagrees with them, they feel the need to argue or defend themselves. If someone behaves unfairly, their mind becomes filled with frustration that may last for hours or even days. These emotional reactions often feel natural, but they can quietly take control of a person's life. When every external event has the power to disturb your emotions, your peace becomes fragile. Your mood rises and falls, depending on what others say or do. In this state, you are constantly reacting rather than living with intention. Emotional detachment is the discipline that frees you from this cycle. Developing this discipline begins with awareness. The moment something happens that triggers a strong emotional reaction, most people immediately follow the emotion. Their mind begins creating stories, arguments, and explanations. But emotional detachment encourages a different approach. Instead of immediately reacting, you observe the emotion first. You recognize that a feeling has appeared, but you do not allow it to control your actions. This small pause creates distance between the event and your response. In that distance, you gain the power to decide how you truly want to react. This is where the connection between emotional detachment and the power of ignoring becomes clear. When you learn to detach emotionally from certain situations, ignoring them becomes much easier. Words that once triggered anger now appear less important. Opinions that once felt threatening now lose much of their influence. For example, imagine someone criticizing you unfairly. In the past, you might have reacted quickly by defending yourself or arguing, but with emotional detachment, you begin to see the situation differently. Instead of focusing on the criticism itself, you recognize that the other person's words reflect their own perspective, their own emotions, and their own experiences. Once you understand this, the criticism stops feeling like a personal attack that requires a response. It becomes simply another opinion that exists in the world, one that does not necessarily deserve your attention. This awareness allows you to remain calm instead of becoming emotionally involved. Another important aspect of emotional detachment is recognizing the temporary nature of many situations. When something negative happens, it often feels overwhelming in the moment. Emotions rise quickly, and the mind treats the situation as extremely important. But with time, most events lose their significance. Think about situations that once felt very upsetting, but now seem small or even meaningless when you look back at them. The argument that ruined your day months ago may now feel insignificant. The criticism that once bothered you may no longer matter at all. Emotional detachment helps you see this perspective even in the present moment. When you remember that many situations are temporary, you become less likely to react strongly. You realize that giving your emotional energy to every small disturbance is unnecessary. Instead of allowing the moment to control your feelings, you allow the moment to pass without holding on to it. Another benefit of emotional detachment is the clarity it brings to your decisions. When emotions are intense, the mind often becomes clouded. People say things they later regret or make decisions based purely on temporary feelings. But when you remain emotionally detached, you maintain a clearer perspective. This clarity allows you to respond wisely rather than impulsively. Instead of reacting from anger or frustration, you choose responses that align with your values and long-term goals. This calm decision-making process strengthens your confidence because you know your actions are guided by intention rather than emotion. Emotional detachment also protects your mental energy. When you react strongly to everything around you, your mind becomes exhausted from constant emotional swings. Stress builds up, and your focus becomes scattered. But when you practice detachment, many situations no longer disturb your inner balance. Your energy remains available for the things that truly matter. You can invest your attention in learning, building, creating, and improving your life rather than in endless emotional reactions. There is also an important distinction between caring deeply about life and becoming emotionally overwhelmed by it. Emotional detachment does not mean that you stop caring about people or situations that truly matter. Instead, it means that you choose carefully where your emotional energy goes. You still show compassion, kindness, and understanding toward meaningful relationships. You still respond thoughtfully to important responsibilities, but you no longer allow unnecessary negativity to dominate your emotional state. This balance creates a powerful form of stability. Instead of feeling constantly pulled in different directions by external events, you remain grounded within yourself. Your emotional state becomes steady because it is no longer dependent on every situation around you. Over time, this discipline becomes a natural part of your mindset. Situations that once triggered strong reactions begin to feel less important. You observe them calmly and decide whether they deserve your attention. When they do not, you simply ignore them and continue moving forward. This ability creates a quiet strength that becomes visible to others. People notice that you are not easily provoked. They see that you remain calm even when conversations become tense. Your emotional balance sends a powerful message. Your peace cannot easily be disturbed. Another powerful effect of emotional detachment is the sense of freedom it creates. When you stop reacting emotionally to every situation, life begins to feel lighter. Small problems no longer carry the same weight they once did. Your thoughts become clearer because they are not constantly replaying emotional conflicts. This clarity allows you to focus more deeply on your personal growth. Instead of spending time managing emotional reactions, you spend time building a stronger and more meaningful life. In the end, emotional detachment is not about separating yourself from life. It is about learning to move through life with calm awareness. You remain engaged with the world, but you do not allow every disturbance to enter your mind. You learn to observe without reacting, to understand without becoming overwhelmed, and to continue forward without carrying unnecessary emotional burdens. And once this discipline becomes part of your character, something remarkable happens. The world may still be noisy, unpredictable, and sometimes chaotic, but within you there is a quiet place of calm strength that remains steady no matter what happens around you. The power of ignoring is one of the most underrated strengths a person can develop in life. Many people believe strength comes from always defending themselves, always reacting, and always proving others wrong. But true strength often appears in a quieter form. It appears in the ability to stay calm when others expect a reaction. It appears in the wisdom to remain silent when an argument would only create more noise. It appears in the discipline to walk away from situations that do not deserve your energy. Throughout life, you will meet many different types of people. Some will support you and encourage your growth, while others may criticize, misunderstand, or attempt to provoke you. If you try to respond to every voice around you, your mind will become exhausted, and your attention will constantly be pulled away from what truly matters. But when you understand the power of ignoring, everything begins to change. You begin choosing your battles carefully. Instead of reacting automatically, you pause and ask yourself whether the situation truly deserves your attention. Many conflicts disappear the moment you stop feeding them with reactions. Many opinions lose their influence when you stop giving them importance. What once felt overwhelming slowly becomes insignificant when you learn to let it pass. Ignoring negativity does not mean that you stop caring about life or about people. It simply means that you protect your inner peace from unnecessary disturbance. You still respond to meaningful situations with wisdom and clarity, but you no longer allow every comment, criticism, or misunderstanding to control your emotions. This mindset creates a powerful transformation. Your mind becomes quieter because it is no longer crowded with endless reactions. Your focus becomes stronger because your attention is directed toward your goals rather than toward drama. Your emotional state becomes more stable because it is no longer dependent on the behavior of others. Over time, this calm strength becomes part of your character. People begin to notice that you are not easily disturbed. They see that your peace remains steady even when situations around you become tense or chaotic. Instead of reacting impulsively, you remain grounded and composed. Perhaps the greatest gift of mastering the power of ignoring is the freedom it brings. You stop living according to the opinions and expectations of others. You stop chasing approval and defending every decision you make. Instead, you begin living with clarity, confidence, and independence. Your energy becomes focused on building your life rather than on responding to every distraction. Your attention moves toward growth, learning, and meaningful experiences. The noise of unnecessary conflict fades into the background while your path becomes clearer and more purposeful. In the end, ignoring is not about avoiding the world. It is about understanding where your energy truly belongs. It is about recognizing that your peace is valuable and protecting it with discipline. When you learn to ignore what does not deserve your attention, you gain something incredibly powerful. You gain control over your mind, your emotions, and your direction in life. And in that quiet control, you discover a truth that many people spend years searching for. Peace is not found by changing the world around you, but by choosing what you allow to live inside your mind.